Hello, this is Spartan Commander, and this is the 218th Rome Total War Brotherhood game that I've put onto YouTube. Straight away you'll see this has not been fought on a normal map. This is the Sierra Nevada map, and I think this is the first time I've actually used this map to put one of our battles on our YouTube channel. Okay, our first teammate is Brotherhood member JGP, who has bought the Rome SBQR faction. I think he's got 12 infantry and 2 archer units there. Yep, 12 infantry, and he's got 6 cavalry. And we just have a look at the upgrades on his cavalry, and you can see they're just gold shield, gold attack. 6 upgrades, that's gold shield, gold attack. So that's JGP's army. Our next teammate is Brotherhood member Legion 22. If you notice there, I think he's got something like 16 infantry units there, I think. And I think he's got some of his cavalry units hiding in the woods. Just if you look closely here, you can see he's got 2 auxiliary units there, which I'm pretty sure he's going to use as pilot shield units. Remember, these cheaper units, as long as they'll stand, they'll soak up pilots as good as any other expensive unit. So that's quite good to have those 2 units there. Got good upgrades on them too. And of course he's got an eagle unit there as well for a little bit of extra morale. So there's Legion 22's army there. Looks pretty good to me. Let's say 16 infantry, and I got a feeling he's got some cavalry units hidden in the trees as well there. Our next teammate is Brotherhood member Mars, who has bought the Rome Scipio faction. I think looks to me he's got 15 infantry, including a peasant unit. Remember, like we said just earlier there, a peasant unit will soak up pilers the same as any other unit, as long as that peasant unit stands. As long as it stands in the pilot shield unit, then it will soak up the pilers. So that's a nice useful unit to bring. And I think Mars has only got 4 cavalry, but if we look at his cavalry, you'll see that they got 8 upgrades. These are serious cavalry. It's 2 experience stripes, gold shield, gold attack. So that's a pretty good army there for Mars. Should be interesting to see how well it does. And then our 4th teammate is myself, Spartan Commander, who has unusually bought an old Macedon army. This is an army that I used to use years ago. It's kind of like a multi-purpose army that I used to bring. It wasn't built for any specific enemy armies. It's just like, as I say, just a multi-purpose army. I think it's got about 13 pike units. I think it's got 4 Cretan archers and just 3 cavalry. But the cavalry have all got good upgrades on. So as I say, that's my old multi-purpose Macedon army. I'm not sure I've ever bought it before on our YouTube battle, so it'd be interesting to see how well it does. If you notice here on the Sierra Nevada map, that we're up on the high ground this end, and what usually happens is the armies of both teams run up onto the high ground, and we actually fight our battles up here on this side, this part of the map, up on the higher ground. So as I say, this is where in all the years that I've hosted on this map, this is where all the armies come and we fight up here, as it's kind of even ground, but it's a long way for the armies to run. And here is the other team. We have Brotherhood member Kendi. If you remember, we talked about Kendi in our last battle. He hasn't played RTW regularly for maybe 4 years, and this is one of his return battles. And if you notice there, he's bought the Rome Julii faction. If you notice, he's got 2 armies. He split his actual army up into 2 armies there. He's got his main army at the front, where he's got an eagle unit to give that army morale boosts there. So that's a nice little move there. And he's got his smaller army at the back there, where he's got his general to give the general morale bonus there. So that's a nice little move there by Kendi. And he's just got 4 cavalry. Let's just have a look at the upgrades on his cavalry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So he's just got 6 upgrades on that cavalry. So that's gold shield, gold attack. So it'll be interesting to see how well Kendi does now. As I say, he hasn't played RTW regularly for about 4 years. Okay, their next teammate is RTW player Lee. A lot of you will know Lee, very good RTW player. But I'd just like to ask veterans watching this, you know, when you've used Greek City, we know that Greek City, the Spartans have got great specifications, excellent morale and all that, but I still think that they need gold shield, gold attack on them to get the most out of those Spartans. And I think some people are tempted to put less upgrades on them, and I just don't think you get the same out of them. See this one unit at the front, this Spartan unit, he's got 1 upgrade on this one Spartan unit at the front. And I think on this particular Spartan unit, there's no upgrades at all there. Just none at all. And then he's got 3 upgrades on some units. On a couple of units there, he's got the gold shield, gold attack, but for me, I think using Spartans, you need gold shield, gold attack on them, even with all their excellent specifications, to get the most out of them. So it'll be interesting to see how well those Spartans do during the course of the battle. I see he's opted for a cavalry general, which is unusual for a Greek city's general, and I see he's got 7 upgrades. And then even more unusually, he's got 5 light cavalry units. 5 light cavalry units. So it'll be interesting to see how well he uses that cavalry during the course of the battle. No archers, if you notice, he's got no Cretan archers, just those Spartans and that light cavalry. Okay, their next teammate is Brotherhood member Eth. Now, as we talked before about Eth, he hasn't played RTW regularly for maybe 6 years. And this is one of his return battles here. And if I remember right, Eth has actually won an RTW tournament back in the day, playing really good players of that time to win that tournament. So make no mistake about it, Eth is an extremely good player. As you can see there, I think he's got 15, 369, yeah, got 15 infantry there, I think, and his cavalry will be hiding in those trees. So it'll be interesting to see how well Eth does. Notice he's got a 3-unit pilot shield there, one after the other. And their 4th teammate is Brotherhood member Demon. Now, Demon hasn't played RTW regularly for some time either. He pops on now and again for a couple of games, but he hasn't played regularly for years. As you can see, he's bought the Rome Julii faction there. If you notice, he's got legionary cohorts out in front for his pilot shield units there. These are cheaper units, but like we said before, as long as they stand their ground, they will soak up pilots the same as any other expensive unit there. So as I say, Demon hasn't played RTW for ages, so it'll be interesting to see how well he does there. He's got something like 14 infantry and 6 cavalry. So as I say, this is a Sierra Nevada map. Not used very often in RTW, and as you can see, both teams really, if they can, should run up to the higher ground here, and then all the combat is then fought up here on the ground where it's more even. But but it is a long way for the armies to run. As you see up to the top, this should be an interesting battle for you to watch. Okay, at this stage of the battle, unusually, you'll see that the enemy team are ceding the high ground here. They're actually giving up the high ground and moving down the hill. Here's a little charge there by the Greek city's general there, the cavalry general. Notice he charged into that peasant unit. Nice little harassing and haranguing movement there by the Greek city's general there. Nice little move. But unusually, as I said, on this map, we usually always, both teams bring their armies up to the top there and we play on the flat ground. But I see the enemy team, as I say, are giving up the high ground here and appear to be moving down the hill, down the map there, where you can see our team are all moving up onto the high ground here, taking advantage of the high ground. Well, the enemy, as I say, are giving up the high ground here and moving down the hill. Now, in all the years that I've hosted on this map, I have never seen that before. So this is a new tactic here by the enemy team. Let's say most teams see the advantage of getting up here onto the high ground and then fighting, like, if you like, on an even keel up here. So to actually voluntarily be giving up the high ground and moving down the hill is an unusual tactic. And it'll be interesting to see how this battle goes now they are moving down the hill. As I say, this is in all the years I've hosted on this map, I think this is the first time that the other team has ever done this. So, as I say, this is new ground for all of us, and should make the battle even more interesting to see what's going to happen down the bottom of the hill there. Okay, so at this stage of the battle, we've paused the game. As I say, usually the teams both fight up here, but as you see, the enemy now have moved all the way down, if you like, to the bottom of the hill there, where they're going to position. As I say, in all the years I've hosted on this map, we have never fought a battle in this area of this map. So this is going to be new for all of us, because as far as I know, all of us have always fought up on the high ground there. So for them to have pulled down to this part of the battlefield, as I say, this is a new thing for all of us here. So as I say, it should be an interesting one to watch. They've got a bit of higher ground there, haven't they, as well? So should be a good one to see what happens. Okay, at this stage of the battle, I thought I'd talk to you about fighting near the red line of the map. Now, the red line is also known as the line of no return. And what I mean by that is, if any of your units rout, right, and they run up to the back there's a chance they may rally and come back into the battle. But if any unit, no matter what size, routs and goes over that red line is the line of no return. Your units will never rally and never return once they go over that red line. In the old days, people used to redline camp here, and this stopped you being able to get around the rear of them, obviously, because that's the edge of the map. But every time one of their units routed, no matter what size, they'd run over that red line, and of course they would never come back to the battle. So I think that's why a lot of people don't redline camp. So remember that. Try not to fight near the red line if you can. Here's a general disposition of the battle as it stands at the moment. As you can see, we've moved down the hill now onto this particular part of the map that I don't think any of us have fought on before. And as you can see, the enemy disposition there, they've actually got up onto a little bit of the higher ground there, and where we are has gone a little bit flat. So maybe that move by them was a good tactical move. I guess by the end of the battle it'll be interesting to see whether that move was good for them. As I say, it's kind of flattened out a little bit down this side of the map. Should make it even more interesting. Okay, at this very early stage of the battle here, you can see that we're actually moving down to attack the enemy. If you notice here, Lee has moved his Greek city's army forward there, but he's moved so far forward he has now exposed his right flank to Legion's infantry there. He was set further back, and then all of a sudden he ran his infantry forward there in an aggressive move, but he has opened his flank up to attack by Legion. As you can see here, Candice chose a good position there to hold his troops. There's a slight slope upwards there, so he's got a good position of his troops there. And if you notice, I've moved my Mastodon army over to face Candice's army there. Remember, Kendi's got those two armies, so he may try and move one of his armies around the flank, because obviously Kendi knows that Macedon flanks and rear are the weak spot, so he may try and get that secondary army that he's built there around the flank of my Macedon army there. That would be a good tactical move. Okay, can you see Kendi? As I said before in that other battle video, he's an extremely aggressive player here. If you notice, he's charging his cavalry into my Brutii alley. But if you notice here, I've got my Cretan archers in close, tight formation. Now, what I'm going to do with those archers is concentrate my fire on enemy cavalry that come into range. And if you notice that Kendi's cavalry now are going to attack my allies' green Brutii troops there, but they're also, by doing that, going to come into range of my Cretan archers. Now remember, those Cretan archers in tight formation makes their arrows impact even more in that tight formation, so I could cause a lot of casualties here to Kendi's cavalry. You can see the arrows there flying through the air onto the cavalry there, and the longer he keeps his cavalry there, the more casualties he's going to take from that archer fire. And as long as those cavalry stay in range, those 4 Cretan archers of mine are going to be shooting loads and loads of arrows into them. Really concentrating here on causing as many casualties to that cavalry as I can. Right, if you notice, he's pulling his cavalry back now, but remember, Cretan archers got a long range, and I can probably still target those cavalry even where he's brought them back to there, let you see. I can still see my arrows going into those cavalry units. Remember, those cavalry units are 54-man units. Let's just pause the game for a second. 54-man units there, and you can see my archers are targeting. They're still shooting in to those cavalry there. And as I said, remember, those cavalry units are 54-man units. And if you look at the casualties that have been caused by them, by the archers, let's see, that unit's down to what? 20, I think it was 28. As you see the arrows flying in, you're at 28 men on that one, 41 on that one. I haven't concentrated any archer fire on those other 2 cavalry units, but those 2 have been quite well hit by my archers there. Let's have a look at the general disposition of the battle here. As you can see, Legion 22's Brutii troops by the side of my Macedon troops there, facing both Eth and Kendi's army there. And then we move over and you can see the Greek cities there, facing JGP's SBQR units. And if you notice that the Greek city's general has put a defensive pike wall, a spear wall up there as well on the edge of Eth's formation. That's quite a strong defensive formation there for the enemy team. That'll be interesting to see if we can break that or not. But as you can see, because they gave up that higher ground, we now, as you can see, have got a slightly higher ground advantage here. So it'll be interesting to see if that will tell, especially towards the end of the battle. So, as you can see, that's a really nice defence there. Greek cities in the front, and Roman allies just behind, being able to throw the pilers over the top of the Greek city ally there. But as I say, there's a general disposition, and remember, if any units go over that red line, no matter how big the unit is, they will not rally, and you have lost them for good. So as I say, if you it's best maybe not to fight near a red line if you can possibly help it. You can see my archers still taking out a lot of Kendi's cavalry here. He's down to 27 men. Remember, those cavalry units are 54 men, and basically all those casualties have been caused by the Cretan archers there. As I say, you can see Kendi bringing that secondary army of his round with a general morale bonus there, with his general there moving around the flank, maybe of the Macedon army. But if you notice, there's a bit of a gap there. Can you see the gap between my Brutii ally and my Macedon flank there? Meanwhile, over on our right flank here, you can see that Mars is blue, Scipii troops are facing Demons red troops there. Not a lot going on over on the right flank and the right centre at this time. A little bit of skirmishing in the left centre there between the Greek cities and a couple of Brutii units here, but the action seems to be over here on the left flank. Right, if you notice, I've aggressively moved forward. Let's just pause the game for a second. I've aggressively moved forward with my Macedon army into Kendi's secondary army. Remember, he had smaller secondary army with his general there. So I've moved forward there, but if you notice, there's a gap now as I've moved forward between my allies and myself. So my left flank is now exposed to Julii attack. Can you see that gap there? So I'm now very conscious of that, but I decided to be aggressive in this battle and move my Macedon army forward towards Kendi's secondary smaller army there. Now I'm hoping that my allies will spot the danger that will be to my flank there, and probably move some infantry units in. Notice how I moved my cavalry out to the left flank here, ready to hit into the flank of damaged enemy troops there if necessary. And as I say here, I can see the danger of the Julii troops coming in there on the right flank, so I've put a pike unit out there to protect my right flank. But if you notice that Legion, being a good teammate that he is, he spotted that and just moved some units over to try and support my right flank there as he's moved forward. So there's a lot of action there, as you can see. F moving forward there was probably looking to come in onto my right flank, but Legion blocked that. As you can see with my Mastodon pikes, I'm moving forward very aggressively. And over here now, if you notice, we've got Mars, Legions and my own cavalry here over on the left flank there, ready to strike at the enemy infantry or cavalry there if they attack. Now I know sometimes Mars can be very aggressive with his cavalry, so I'm just wondering whether he may well lead an attack into that red Julii cavalry there. Bearing in mind that the red Julii infantry over on this side are now engaged. I'm pushing my Macedon pikemen forward. Notice how aggressive I'm being with my Macedon pikemen. Remember, a lot of people play Macedon defensively, but I believe if you attack with them, they can do really good. Right, can you see Mars? We said he'd be aggressive, and he's charging his cavalry into the Julii cavalry, and bangs, that cavalry hits. Routed 2 Julii cavalry straight away, probably 2 that were weakened by my Cretan archers. If you notice, I'm bringing my Macedon companion cavalry in. Legion's bringing his Brutii cavalry in, and bangs, that cavalry hits. Routing more Julii cavalry there. But if you notice that Julii generals brought some infantry over there to throw in against our cavalry, so we don't want to hang around there too much against fighting infantry. Let's just pause the game for a second. As you can see here, our aggressive cavalry attack there has bared some fruit, and we've managed to rout a lot of the enemy cavalry there. But as you can see, there's some enemy infantry getting involved there, which we don't want to get too involved with our cavalry. If you notice, as I say, with my Macedon pikemen, I'm pushing forward, being aggressive with them, not just sitting back making them defensive like a lot of people do with Macedon. Be aggressive, go forward, and you'll be surprised how much damage you can do with your big pike armies there. As you can see, Legion brought his Brutii forces over to protect my left flank there, and he's spread his army out quite a lot there. He's got units over on the left centre as well there, against facing the Greek cities. And as I say, over on the right flank and the right centre there, really not a lot going on. A little bit of skirmishing, but not a lot going on there at this time. But as we've seen before in other battle videos, that can change easily. Can you see how JGP's got some units in Testudo there? It's a good attack or defence against pikes and spear units there. But meanwhile, here over on the left flank, where the action seems to have kicked off, as you can see I'm pulling my Macedon cavalry away from that Julii infantry. As we've said in other battle videos, you don't want to have your cavalry fighting enemy infantry there, because the infantry will usually win. So I'm concentrating my Macedon cavalry back up, helping our Scipii ally there. Right, now I'm just going to pause the game for a second, because there's something I want to show you, something very important, especially to newer players to Rome Total War, and probably some players that's been playing a while as well. Right, can you see Kendi's unit there of 27 men on that cavalry unit? Now, if that unit had pulled anywhere else on the battlefield, that unit would have probably rallied with 27 men, but can you see it's going over the red line? That red line of no return. So as I said, if he'd have pulled back up, if it'd run back up on there, it probably rallied. But that 27-man unit now is gone forever. It will never come back to help Kendi in the battle. And this is a risk that you play if you play so close to the red line there. Meanwhile, here you can see I'm concentrating on my Macedon cavalry, attacking the Julii force. I know my Macedon pikes are all safe. They're not being attacked, so I'm not concentrating on my pikemen. I know they're safe. They just stood their ground for the time being there. There's no problem, so I'm not concentrating on the pikemen. I'm watching more what my cavalry is doing up there, as there's infantry starting to get involved. So that's where my concentration is, up there. But, and this is what I wanted to show you, can you see my ally here is bringing 6 cavalry units to attack the enemy line? Now, that's a great tactical thought there, but look what he's got to go through. My pikes are down, ready for battle. Now remember what we've talked about in other battle videos? Friendly pikes kill friendly cavalry. If he charges his cavalry through my pikes without giving me a shout to put my pikes up, he's going to lose loads and loads of his cavalry. And of course, I'm not watching my pikes because I know they're safe. I'm watching my cavalry over on the other flank, and I get no message to say, put your pikes up. And so, as I say, I'm concentrating on my cavalry over there, not looking at my pikes because I know they're safe. And then my ally's going to charge his cavalry through without giving me any notice, and they're going to go straight through my combat ready pikes with their pikes down, and that's going to cause loads and loads of casualties. Remember we said about friendly pikes killing friendly cavalry, and that's exactly what's happened here. He's gone through that now, and he's managed to and if you notice here, can you see one unit has been reduced to 12 men, and he hasn't even come in contact with the enemy. That unit's been reduced down to that number by just going on to friendly pikes. And this is what we've talked about in other battle videos here, but this is an example I wanted to show you. When you play with allies with pikes, you must tell them when you're going to charge your cavalry through, so they can put their pikes up. Okay, meanwhile over here on the left flank here, you can see I've pulled my cavalry back here. As I could see, there's some Julii infantry getting involved in the fracas there. But as I say, back to this part of the battlefield, you can see those my allies SPQ cavalry have charged through my pikes into the enemy line, but they lost so many cavalry there, it's kind of knocked out the impetus, the impact of their cavalry, because they lost so many on my pikes. And as I say, newer players for Rome Total War, if you play with a pike ally, you must be careful with your cavalry around your pikes there. Right, as you can see here, Kenda's moved his secondary army back a little bit, but I'm still moving forward with my Macedon army. You can see Legion's attacking with his Green Brute army here into the enemy Julii army there. Both Eth and Kendi are really supporting each other there. You can see the Greek cities generals here. If you notice, a lot of Spartans dead here without any enemy troops around them. Those are kills by pilots there. So a lot of the Spartans were killed by pilots before they even come into the battle. You can see he's got his Greek cities general there, giving them morale bonus. Nice thick Greek cities formation there. It'd take a lot to break through that. And at the end of his formation, which could be a vulnerable part, if you notice, he's got his allied demon there, Julii troops protecting. But say over on the right flank, not a lot going on so far. Not a lot going on, and not a lot really going on in the right centre either. It seems to me the left centre and our left flank seems to be the main battle area at the moment. But of course, as we've seen in other battle videos, that can change. Right, now we know we've just talked about friendly cavalry going through friendly pikes. I just want to show you this. Very sad for our team here. Can you see all those SPQR cavalry? All those SPQR cavalry have just been killed by friendly pikes. I counted them. I had a very rough count of all those cavalry that are around those pikes, and I think there's between 80 and 90 cavalrymen friendly cavalrymen have been killed on friendly pikes in that battle there. So that's nearly 2 whole units of cavalry have just been taken out on friendly pikes. So I can't emphasise this message to newer players and players maybe that's been playing a little bit but haven't had this happen before. Do not charge through allies' pikes when the pikes are down, because this is the casualties that you will suffer with your cavalry. Okay, and I thought this was a great example to show you of what can happen. Make sure you give your ally a shout if you're going to charge through his pikes. Put your pikes up like we saw in the last battle. If you remember 317. Remember, we saw a great combination there of where the pikes were sent up and the cavalry charged through. So I just wanted to show you that. Okay, you can see here on the left flank here, we've got our cavalry ready to charge into the enemy again. But it's mostly infantry, and they're facing us here, so we don't want to charge our cavalry head-on into waiting enemy infantry. As I say, if you notice here with my Macedon pikemen, once again, being very aggressive, moving forward with my Macedon pikemen. Attack, attack. Not just standing back, waiting for the enemy to come to me, not giving them the initiative. What I'm trying to do with this Macedon army is I'm trying to grab the initiative myself and moving forward, being aggressive, make the enemy react to me. Also, you can see Legion's Green Brute infantry. Once again, he's not one to stand back. He's attacking with his infantry as well, very aggressively there as well. And you can see all the way along the battle line there, you can see Demon's cavalry has just smashed into our battle line there. Nearly broke Legion's Green Brute troops there, but Legion's troops managed to hold on. I thought for 1 second there that line was going to break and they were going to pour through that line there, but luckily Legion managed to hold there, and now he's throwing a couple of reinforcement units over there to shore up the battle line. But our line nearly broke there with that cavalry hit, so well done to Legion for holding on so well. You can see JGP bringing a lot of infantry over away from that part of the battlefield there. But as I say, over on this right flank, still really not a lot going on. Troops stood looking at each other a lot there. Not a lot going on there at the moment. But as I said in other battle videos, and as we've seen in the battle videos, that can all of a sudden change. You can see these units here have thrown pilers at each other, the enemy and our teams, but not a lot, no fighting going on there at the moment. Let's say that Greek city line's holding very well there, although it's not being aggressively attacked. JGP's brought some infantry over there to attack.
The enemy general is slain.
So you can see it looks like I think it's Kendi's general has just been taken out there. So of course the morale of all his troops now that he's got left will drop. I see FF's generals there. Can you see I'm charging my Mastodon companion cavalry and I'm bang as that cavalry hits. Of course I'm going for that Julii general there, but he's got a lot of men left in that unit, so didn't do a lot of damage to that general unit there. Probably staying there for a little bit and then pull my cavalry back. I don't want to asset seat. Get the full cavalry charge bonuses we talked about before, and then pull out before you start getting into entrenched warfare with infantry. Right, I can see some of the Julii units starting to rout now. JGP and Legion are both aggressively attacking the Julii line there. And as I say, all the way through this battle I've been very aggressive with my Mastodon army. Remember this old Mastodon army of mine? I don't think, as I say, I've brought it to a YouTube battle before. So I just thought, I don't know why I decided to bring it, but I just thought I'd bring it for this particular battle. And I just want to be very aggressive with it moving forward. Notice that the Julii general has gone into Testudo, and that of course is the normal response to slowing down and breaking up pike attacks. Right, if you notice I've got my battle damaged cavalry in behind the enemy, and bang as I charge it in hammer and anvil attack. Notice I'm advancing with my pikes there. We've got Brutio infantry in there as well as the anvil, and my cavalry as the hammer going into the back of those engaged enemy troops. We managed to rout one of the units there, but the other unit held well. What I want to do is try and punch a hole through the enemy line at that part there, so I can get my pikemen up behind. Let's just pause the game for a second. So I say there's all those SPQR cavalry there. Sorry to keep showing you this, but there's all those SPQR cavalry that died on friendly pikes. Friendly cavalry on friendly pikes. So sad to see. And if this battle goes right down to the wire, and we need every unit we've got, then that could really make a difference there, couldn't it? So as I say, newer players to Rome Total War, remember that. If you're going to charge through friendly pikes, make sure that the general puts his pikes up before you do that. But as I say, with my Mastodon army there, I want to punch a hole through the battle line here of the enemy and get in behind them. If I can just punch a hole through there and get in behind the enemy line, that's what I want to do with my Mastodon army. Being aggressive with it, not just being passive. As you can see, JGP and Legion both attacking the Brutii lines there. And you can see the Greek city is still holding well. But there's a little bit of a weak spot there, I think I can see in the enemy line. Maybe that might give there. But in general, the enemy are holding very well. Of course, you expect Greek cities. Is that right? Can you see all those big pile of Spartans there? But of course, you can't see many enemy troops around them. That's all piler kills there. So that just goes to show how much damage the pilers have done to the Greek city units there. I can't help thinking, I wonder if those just three upgrades on those Spartans have made a difference there. As you notice here, Demons attacking the flank of JGP and Mars's infantry there, being very aggressive with the army. So like we said, over on this right flank, there hasn't been happening, not much been happening. It's now erupted into a battle there. And as I say, with my Mastodon army now, I kind of split my Mastodon army into two here from what I can see in this battle. I've got one part of my army here facing the Julii troops here, and I've got the larger part of my army advancing into the enemy battle line. Like I say, my troops are tired, and if you notice, I'm using my cavalry as well as I can from behind. Hammer and anvil attack again, charging my cavalry into the back of engaged enemy troops, while forcing my Mastodon pikemen forward. Attack here, grabbing the initiative. Right now, if I can up my pikes and run through the enemy battle line there, I can then get in behind the engaged enemy troops. That's what I want to do. See, I've put my pikes up, so they're going to run now. I'm going to run them through that enemy battle line there and get in behind the enemy troops. That's what I want to do here. So we've managed to punch a hole through the enemy battle line there, and we just want to get in behind the troops. If you notice, my smaller Mastodon army here is fighting the Julii troops here, but I think there's a Julii unit in behind my units there, so I doubt very much whether that little small army of mine will be able to hold long there. But as I say, I've taken my larger army up in behind the enemy lines there, and as I come into attack, I just put my pikes down and move slowly into the rear of those enemy troops, routing them as well. Over here in the right centre, you see Demon charging his cavalry. Now I think the Greek city general's got his pikes down, got his spears down there, so a lot of that cavalry will be killed by friendly spears as it goes through there. Over here on our right flank here, you can see that Demon is attacking aggressively, both JGP and Mars's. You've got the Greek cities general attacking aggressively as well, but the Greek cities, as you can see, have lost a lot of men from pilot hits there, so they will be greatly weakened. And if you notice here, JGP's SBQR troops, Legion's green Brutii troops, and my Mastodon troops have now got in behind the enemy line. We're kind of rolling up the enemy line from left to right here. The Greek cities have turned to face a threat, but of course they got Brutii infantry behind them attacking their rear, and we've got SBQR, Brutii infantry, and my Mastodon units attacking them now head on. So those, I wouldn't surprise me if those 3 Greek city units routed soon, because they're being it's being squeezed like a vice from both sides there. Their morale will be quite low. They'll be distraught by the numbers of enemy around them, and they will probably soon rout. They're squeezing that those Greek city units there. You see the Greek city general has brought his general over to give his troops morale. I just see one of the Greek city units has just had a battlefield promotion. Right, if you notice here, can you see my Mastodon carry, very battle damaged Mastodon carry, still going into the back of engaged troops, and bang as that cavalry hits. Still trying to rout some of the engaged enemy troops there, even with very battle damaged cavalry there. Right, you can see these Greek city units we were squeezing are gradually routing. Over here on our right flank here, you can see Demons really aggressively attacking Mars and JGP units there. But if you notice that Legion's got in behind him now with his Brutii troops. He charged through that that battle line that we punched a hole through as well. He's got Brutii troops in behind the enemy troops now. So we're doing like a kind of a hammer and anvil attack there. Meanwhile, remember we saw that smaller army of mine getting taken out by those Julii troops. That smaller army has just now been killed, and the Julii general is now bringing his victorious troops over in behind us there. And he's still got his general alive there as well, giving morale bonus to his troops. I think that's the Greek city's general has just been taken out, so of course the morale will drop. As I say, we're moving forward now, trying to roll the enemy up, as I say, from left to right. Here, that's what we're trying to do. A lot of the Julii units are starting to rout. I notice most of the Greek city units, pike units have now, spear units have started to rout as well. I see Eth is bringing over those Julii units of his, but each one of those Julii units are extremely battle damaged. They're probably tired as well, so I say things are not looking very good for the other team at the moment, and I just seen it like kind of a mass rout of enemy Julii troops here over on our right flank, and I think one of them's just admitted defeat as we're moving over here to try and let's say we rolled the enemy up there from left to right, the other team up there from left to right. I see there's still a lot of the Greek cities light cavalry roaming the battlefield. And you can see the Eth's units there, those red Julii units. He's running forward, being aggressive with those units there. But I think even his general's just been taken out there. And you can see that the Greek city's general is bringing his light cavalry in to help his Julii ally there. Nice hit with the cavalry, and bang! Do you notice how he got up on the higher ground and charged in there for the downhill cavalry charge bonus? Nice little hit there by the Greek city's general. But of course, with light cavalry, the effect is going to be quite minimal, really. Okay, let's just pause the game for a second. I just wanted to show you the intensity of this battle. As I say, we've never fought on this part of the map before in all the years we've hosted, and as you can see, the piles of dead start off from this left flank and go all the way across to the whole battlefield here. As you can see, the intensity of the fighting, every part of the battlefield there, every part of the battlefield you can see. And there's that cavalry, that friendly cavalry. Sorry to keep going back to that, but I just felt so sad when I saw that. And then you can see here right the way across this part of the battlefield here, the piles and piles of dead, just to bear testament to how intense the fighting was here. And then there's just a few Julio units left with Eth's general there. And I think the rest are basically, there might be some Greek cities like cavalry left here, but I'm just thinking when the overwhelming force of our troops hit Eth's infantry now, they're tired as well, they'll probably just start to rout. As you can see there, even his general unit has now been routed, and I think that would probably be it for all those Julio units there. Let's say I think there might be a couple of Greek cities like cavalry units left. Whether the Greek cities general will admit now, I don't know, but as I say, here you go, you can see there's just a few light cavalry, Greek cities light cavalry units left there, and he looks like he's going to charge them into that extended Scipii infantry unit there. But as I say, it's very unusual to bring 5 light cavalry units, and I thought the upgrades on the Spartans maybe might not have been up to what a lot of us would have put on our Spartans there. So it looks like our team has managed to go on and win the battle there. I can see there's a couple more of those light cavalry units left there, but I think they're exhausted, and my guess is that they, if he charges them in, they will rout quite quickly there. I think at this stage of the battle, when it's obviously lost, sometimes it's a good idea just to admit, and then you can get back into the lobby and host another battle. There you go, you can see those 2 cavalry units there, both routed, and that's like the end of the battle there. But as you can see, the piles of dead, you can see the intensity there. Okay, the first thing I'd like to say is really well played to everybody in the game there. Really well played, guys. Some great moves, some nice aggressive moves, and some really good teamwork moves as well there. Really well done to you all. I was expecting it to be maybe an average victory. Can you see that old Spartan army? The old that Macedon army of mine managed to just about scrape in the highest kills there. It just goes to show, if you're aggressive with Macedon, how well you can do. If you notice here, Eth there, as I say, hasn't been playing regularly for 6 years. Look at the kills he's got. Really good kills for Eth there. Really well done. I don't think the Greek cities kills were particularly good. It may be down to the upgrades that you put on the Spartans. Remember, we looked at those upgrades at the beginning. 3 upgrades, just don't think it's enough really to get the most out of the Spartans there. So really well done. Legion also got some good kills too. So really well done to him. So just to say, really well played to Mars, Legion 22 and JGP. Really well played, guys. But also really well played to Demon, Eth28, Lee and Kendi. And I think for Kendi and Eth, who haven't played regularly for years, they did really well and got some good kills. So Spartan Commander saying, hope you enjoyed the battle. Look forward to seeing you soon, and bye for now.